Hey folks, Matt Sharp here with another Pacific Angler Friday Fishing Report. We're filming for July 29th, so if it's nowhere near July 29th, click up here. This is a link to all the Friday Fishing Reports. We do it most weeks, so I should have something up to date for you. Happy BC Day, happy long weekend. I hope everyone can get out and enjoy it. God, it's hot. I'm melting here in the studio, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm gonna try to keep it quick, but I've got a lot of stuff to cover for you. The first one is I'm going to finally try to tackle the where can you fish in the saltwater for Chinook salmon question that we get asked constantly at the store. I've been hesitant because it is darned complicated.
I'm so confused.
What DFO and the government comes out with is sometimes very hard to follow, and I do this for a living. We're going to break down the map. We've got some cool maps shared by a bunch of folks. We're going to break down the regulations and what's going to happen over the next month with certain dates. If you're a saltwater angler, you want to stay tuned. Now, we're also going to talk about sockeye because that totally ties into the saltwater anglers. And the big question that we've been asked over the last 2 months is, are we going to get a sockeye opening? We used to joke that it used to be, when are the pinks coming, as the most unanswerable question in the store, but we have data. I told everybody about 4 or 5 weeks ago that we had to wait for data to see what was coming before the biologists and DFO could sit down and figure out how we may or may not have recreational sports fishing opportunities in the freshwater or the saltwater. I've got that data. The data is good. We still don't know if there's going to be an opening. I'm going to talk you guys and girls through that data, where you can find more of that data, and then what might happen if the positive news continues. But we're also going to talk about some caveats when it comes to the sockeye fishery. Those caveats are water levels. It ties right into talking about the Vedder because we're going to look at water levels there. The summer Chinook reports have been good. We're going to talk about that in detail, and there has been some mild drama on the river. I'm not going to get into that, but I just hope that everyone is being respectful out there on that fishery. And then we're also going to talk about the trout fishing because, as you guys and girls know, I love the feather flicking on small streams, or well, heck, big streams as well. I was out all last week hitting in numerous spots. I'm going to share some of my observations there and how the water levels are tying into that. Last but not least, and it sort of circles back to the Chinook openings, beach fishing for Chinook. Andre's got a cool fly, and one that he has tested recently, which is really cool, and it's pretty darn unique. Something that I haven't tried. I'm gonna put in the box, give it a wing, because Chinook fishing from the beach with a fly rod is one of the hardest things to do, but one of the coolest things to do. We'll also briefly talk on the coho fishing from the beaches, which is a lot easier and open right now at the very end of the report. As always, you want to see more reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, cheers to Friday. Cheers to a long weekend. Drinking scotch tonight. Thanks, Mike, for this one. We didn't manage to finish it out on the river, but we're making good use of it now. Cheers. Okay, let's jump right into it. And just before I get there, a few of you have left comments over the last bit. They're like, Matt, we love the report, we love the content, but sometimes we do not care about carp fishing or other silly things that I consider, or maybe you're a fly fisherman and you're not worried about saltwater salmon fishing. I do think you should kind of stay tuned to that if you are a fly fisherman, because the way the DFO decision-making process might one day affect one of your fly fisheries. But that said, I'm going to put tags down below. So just really quickly, we're going to do salmon fishing, saltwater first. Then we're going to look at sockeye. Then we're going to look at the river level. So that's Vedder, Skagit, Thompson. And then last, we're going to talk about the fly. Tags are going to be down if I don't drink too much scotch and I get through editing quickly tonight. So salmon fishing, let's talk through it because we've got a great map. This was provided by High Water Tackle. They're a great shop on the North Shore. I'm sure you all know about them. Hats off. Thanks for letting me use this. It's a great resource. I wish DFO would maybe spend a little bit of the budget that they've put towards salmon conservation and maybe make it more understandable for anglers. Because I guarantee you we're the first ones that want to follow the rules, and 99% of the time that it goes wrong, it's not because of malintent, it's because of understanding these things. Anyway, rant aside. So I'm going to throw the map up here so you all can look at it. There's actually been some updates to this map. I'm going to walk through them. The first one. So right now, when we are north of Thrasher Rock, that's 1710, 1711, and 29.2. We are allowed 1 Chinook per day at 62 to 80 centimeters. That is the slot limit. No mark selective fishery, which is silly. They should have a mark selective fishery right now right across the board, but we're hoping for next year. Now, this area below Thrasher Rock is a funny one. You're allowed to fish for Chinook, but you have to release them. On the 1st of August, that changes. So August 1 to August 31st, 1 Chinook per day, 62 to 80 centimeters again. So that is that is south of Thrasher Rock, but not too far down, basically almost at Polier Pass, but not quite there. And then obviously there's a sponge reef closure area that you got to watch out for there. And then we've got openings on the North Shore. And this one wasn't marked on the map, and that's 28.6 will be open on the 1st, and that's the North Shoreline. And so there are Chinook around there right now. We've had reports of that, and that's basically from Point Atkinson to the Pink Apartments, out to about, I want to say, 150, 160 feet of water in certain areas, and then a lot of the flats that the coho are on. So you can go in there, you can coho fish, and if you catch a Chinook, again, 62 to 80 centimeters, you can keep it if you want. Now, the next date, everything else right now closed to Chinook fishing. You can coho fish it. You can get out there and use hoochies. You can get out there and use coho, more specific baits. Release the Chinook you have carefully, but target the coho. But when we come to July 13th, and I know that's kind of a goofy number, but I actually think DFO was actually looking out for sports anglers. It does happen to fall on a Saturday, so you can fish a Saturday and a Sunday, falling on a weekend, which is good. Sometimes they do the opposite and they put it on a Monday and then we miss the weekend. But they will be opening the Catmouth 28-9, and I also believe 28-8, but don't quote me on that. We don't usually fish there anyway. So those openings are on the 13th. Good news there. Now, when it comes to the rest, and the rest will open hopefully September 1 to December 31st with the 2 Chinook per day limit, and that will blanket the entire areas that we've been talking about, minus a southern resident killer whale zone. They call it the management area. No salmon fishing August 1st to September 30th, and it's basically off the North Arm, the north jetty of the North Arm. If you look at the south jetty, you can actually fish off that. So if you're sort of in line with the south jetty, you're going to be okay. If you're in line with that north jetty, you're definitely not. That is a closed area, and we're asking that everyone respect that. They could have closed down a much bigger portion, and they didn't. I still don't agree with the closure period. I've had lots of orcas swim right under my boat, eat all the Chinook, and happily move on, chasing all the Chinook away for days, and then coming back 3 days later when the Chinook finally come back. I've never noticed 1 boat / 50 boats / 400 boats make a difference when it comes to the activity of the orcas and then the result when the orcas come through, aka all the Chinook are gone. There could be some arguments that it impedes their hunting, but they're definitely scaring all those Chinook out of the mouth of the Fraser when they come through. So again, I'm not a biologist. If there's a biologist out there that would like to explain it to me in more detail, I'm super open to that conversation. Long story short, however, off the north arm of the Fraser, there is a closed area that is new for this year. Okay, that's it. Map is going to be down in the description. I'm actually going to link directly to High Water Tackle. They did a good job. I don't mind supporting our competition. They're awesome folks over there. And I'm also going to put all the regulation details, the actual written ones, which you should always read before going out just to familiarize yourself, as well in the links down below. Sockeye, let's talk sockeye because there's some good news there. Some caveats, but some good news. So we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We've got to see numbers before they have a sockeye opening. We've got to understand what is coming from the ocean, because right now ocean survivability is all over the map. Sometimes we expect no fish and a bunch come. A lot of the time we expect more fish and less have been coming. This year, it looks like we're on the less fish expected, more fish coming train, and that is great news. Overall, I'm not going to go through the assessment that came out. I believe it was, July 26th, so 2 days ago. But they're looking at a number of the run sizes across the coast to determine what might be coming. And some of the highlights, I'll just share them with you. are that the Bristol Bay area had a preseason forecast of 75.27 million. They've already got 26 million to date. It's the largest run and harvest on record right now. Nash River, 471,000. Run to date, 227. They're still estimating a big increase there of 100,000 fish to 591. Skeena River, 2 million estimated, roughly 1.5 coming already. And so they've upgraded that. Instead of 2 million, they're almost pushing 3 million on their estimations. Barkley Sound, 400, they got a double. There's already 835 through, and they're expecting 900,000. So again, great news there. Barkley Lake is a hard one. It's a much smaller run. 27 is their estimate. They've got 18 through. They're not making any major assumptions there. Lake Washington, 10,000 was the estimate. They've had 30,000. That's awesome. Columbia River, this is a big one. They estimated 198,000 coming through. They've already got 656,000 through. And so largest run ever observed at the Bonneville Dam. Those are some of the numbers. Now, there's a lot of other factors, and I'm going to I hope I can get links to this. I'll try to put it down in the report, but just look up, Fraser Sockeye update number 5. You should be able to find it with a little bit of Google search if you want to have a deep dive. And there's actually really interesting information. And the interesting information that applies to us anglers of whether or not we're going to have an opening has to do with water levels. Water levels for first, fish passing certain obstacles, and then second, when the water levels get low, the temperature jumps up and we have mortality issues on the sockeye. The sockeye are really cool. They go through an absolute gauntlet when it comes to possible things that can change the fishery dramatically. And so the first one is right now at Boston Bar, fish aren't getting through. There's quite a few sockeye already in the Fraser, as demonstrated by some of those early numbers, and they're really not getting past that Boston Bar slide. Now, as the water drops, that slide is passable. It's just not at these water levels. The secondary concern is how fast it's going to drop, and I'm hopeful we're not going to see that this year, but let's go real-time hydrometrics. If you don't know it, Google search BC river levels, and it's the real-time hydrometric search. And what have I got here? That's Vedder, and here we go. Here's Fraser. You guys can see this, and it's doing its classic summer drop. It is at a 3.6, and I probably don't even need to call my buddy Ryan to tell us what's going to keep happening. This is going to keep dropping at a very, very constant, steady rate, and that should mean that the Boston Bar slide will be passable soon. It is a question of how soon, though, that those fish can figure out how to get over it. Sockeye have only so much juice in the tank. They come into the river and they are a ticking time bomb, meaning they have only so much energy and so much time to get to their spawning habitats before they expire. And that river impediment is going to obviously delay them quite a bit and maybe threaten those early fish with not making it to the spawning grounds. Now, that's the sockeye side of things. But when it comes to Vedder, let's take a look at it, because I know a lot of you guys and girls are out there chasing the summer Chinook. And I've talked to a couple friends now, and they've said it's good. We're having an excellent year, but it comes with some caveats that the early Chinook run or summer Chinook run on the Chilliwack is a very challenging fishery. I totally encourage you to get out there, enjoy it, and just a side note, respect all your other anglers. There's some weird stuff going on there, and I'm not going to get into it. But get out there and enjoy it, but know that if you're first time going out to the Vedder, your chances of hooking one of these things are very slim. The boys at the shop go out almost every week. They've been going out almost every week on the Vedder when it's been open for the past 5 to 10, if not 20 years for some of them. And if they can get one or two, they consider that a pretty darn good day this time of year. And we are hopeful that that will get better as the season progresses. So just a caveat for anyone thinking about it, you're going to have to put in your time and, again, be respectful to all your fellow anglers. So water levels there, we're looking at like 2.5. It's been pretty good levels right throughout the season, even though it was high early, but it's now great go time levels to look at. Now, let's take a look at the trout fishing side of things. So you guys and girls know that I love flicking feathers in fun rivers, whether they're big or small. And this year, I'm just going to get it out there. There's like 3 or 4 major rivers within a 5-hour drive of Vancouver. And there's a dozen more that we're not going to talk about. You guys have to go put boots to ground to find them. But the three major ones are Birkenhead, Skagit, and Thompson. I'll leave it at that. They are not secrets. You can look up trout fishing in BC and find them within about 30 seconds. Skagit this year has its concerns. The lower river is not accessible. I haven't checked Transport Canada, but I'm going to next week and maybe see if I can get us some information if there's going to be an opening. But I haven't sort of depressed myself and tried yet. Thompson, super crazy high. I was up there all last week. The fishing was excellent, but it's super crazy high. Again, Thompson's one, it is slick as heck. If you are not sure on your feet, you do not want to go to the Thompson. And if you do, bring a staff or cleats. But the trout fishing is really cool. It's really fun. Highly recommended. Respect the fishery. I drifted for 3 days and I think I saw 5 other anglers and 3 of them were in my boat with me. So get out there, respect it. And I think that river needs more friends. Birkenhead, I haven't heard anything about it, usually a little bit later in the summer, but that's one to consider on a trip right now. If anyone has any reports, send them in to me. But water levels are dropping consistently. The Thompson dropped almost a meter while I was there, like 0.7 of a meter, because it drops about 0.1 per day. I was there for 5 days. So, sorry, about half a meter when you do the math correctly. And that's going to continue. It's looking good. I didn't see any sockeye up that way, but we're going to start seeing sockeye up that way. And that tends to slow the trout fishing down. And we will see Chinook up that way as well soon. Skagit. Again, I've heard some good reports from folks getting out. Put boots to grounds, bring your wading staffs to cross the river. Try not to clog up the major access points. And just know, if you can only hike 500 yards, you're going to be fishing water that everyone else can fish. Be really respectful of your fellow anglers. Be very careful of crossing the river if you're not sure on your feet. But just note that if this were the year you're going to tackle it, it's probably not a great year to look at that river. However, I'm not going to say don't go because I'm itching to get out there. All right, let's talk beach fishing because Vancouver Tides, we always want to take a peek at those. I actually haven't looked at those today. Vancouver Tides, any of them work, but tide forecast, that should go. We have low tides right in the middle of the day. That's good for lazy man fishing, going out in the middle of the day for a cast, but note that we want low tides early in the morning or late at night to get that low light conditions for the coho. And so it doesn't seem until we hit about, somewhere in like the 4th of August. 4th of August gets a pretty good cycle right through to, all the way through to like the 8th. Some pretty good low tides really early in the morning to check out. That said, Chinook sometimes push in on different tides, and there is that sliver on the North Shoreline where you can target them out. It's not at the cap mouth, just so you know, but that will change on the 13th when you can target Chinook off the beach at the mouth of the Capilano, which is great. Chinook from the beach is a Hails Mary long shot at best, but Andre's got a cool fly, and this is a squid pattern, and it's an orange squid pattern, which I hadn't seen before. And I'm going to actually put a couple of these boxed for a rainy day when I might be targeting Chinook out on the beaches because it's unique. And I know that Andre will not do a video unless he has hooked a fish on that. And hooking a Chinook on the fly is a hard endeavor to begin with. If you want to see that video, check that out right here. And as always, you want to see more reports like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the sub button. If you've got reports or questions, leave it down in the comments below, and I'm going to catch you in 2 weeks.